Okay, it's me again. So this one is actually for somebody in particular. Because I've been there. I know what it's like. If something doesn't call you out by name, you don't answer. If someone says, oh, check this thing out in general, you don't check it out. If someone says, read this book, it could help you. Hope is dangerous. So, yeah, I get it. Anyway, again, I fight with the rules of the way the world works and all that other stuff. And I guess if I have to bend the rules, then I do. I don't know what else to do. I'm sorry. It's just how it is. If you want to help people, sometimes you do have to bend the rules. Sometimes you do have to go against things. So I'm going to bend the rules a little bit. Anyway, I'm not going to mention any names, but I was speaking with someone, and your friend sounds functional minded. Now, that doesn't mean that's how it started. They may have not started out that way, but life happens. At this point, their brain is more functional minded. And you can tell that because not only like the things we discussed, they like things being organized, they like knowing, it's not like, it's more like a need. They need things organized. They need to know what to expect. They get frustrated and angry when they don't know what to expect. They like rules. They like the law. That's what helps to make things make sense. And when people don't pay attention to the rules and the laws, that upsets them. That makes them uneasy. They sorry, I'm drawing a small blank, but I'm also trying to think of how to say things without saying something directly, because I don't, this is their private stuff, and I don't want to share that. Does that make sense? Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, to me it does. Anyway, so they're also probably sometimes a stickler, maybe even over stickler for the rules. Like they won't just point out to you if you're doing something wrong or if somebody else is doing something wrong. They'll get like in your face about it. They'll follow you around about it. Become over stickler about things. They do tend to be selfish. They seem selfish, a little obnoxious, aloof. They seem to, like I said, the selfish, they seem to be thinking about themselves. They get their things taken care of first, all that fun stuff. So actually, all that behavior is actually normal for the situation that they're in. And I say that because their brain might actually, it might naturally supposed to be working like that. But the imbalance is causing them to be too much of a rule person, too selfish. They're supposed to be on the selfish side. They are supposed to think that way because, if you've got food to feed your family and the family next door is also going without food, let's be honest. What's your responsibility here? Your responsibility is to your family. Now, there are people in the world that would say, oh, I'd find a way to split it. I'd find a way to make it work. I'd go without. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Get your emotional self out of here because we're talking about functionalism right now, and it can be very, to most people, selfish. It is. It is. It's okay. It's okay to be selfish. It's okay to be selfless. It's when you're over selfish or over selfless that it becomes a problem. Or could become a problem. What else? The point is, let's be honest, in this situation, what is your responsibility? Your family. So then, yeah, you would take care of your family. Other people might, look down at you because you didn't. Well, too bad for them. That's how it is. Trust me, I know, because I'm actually on the other side. But anyway, it's difficult sometimes to work with somebody like that, as is even when they're in their natural balance, because to people like you and me, that doesn't make sense to be like that. But you have to understand it's not a choice. This is how their brain is actually working. This is just the way that they were born, the way that they are. Just like you can't help how you are, because that's just the way you are. That's just the way you were born, and that's what makes sense to you. Being the type of person to just say, I'm going to be selfless and give my food to this other family, that just makes sense to us. It doesn't just feel good, it makes sense to us. And we more and more of the time we do things that, when we're in our right balance, we'll say, we more of the time would do things just because it felt good, it felt right. Yeah, and that in itself made sense. So that's just the way we were. Yes, I said were. And for as much as we can't change that about ourselves, they can't change that about themselves. And here's the thing. This is the tricky part. Believe it or not, in my travels, we'll say, through the mental health, one thing I have found is there's this pattern I'm noticing when it comes to the more functional minded. Now, this is difficult because it automatically sounds like this is what caused their depression, that's it. No. I can't say, especially even for your friend, I can't say to anybody on an individual without speaking to them individually or knowing more about them individually. I cannot say for sure what started the depression, but the pattern that I have started noticing in functional minded people. Here's my best way to describe this one. So you've got this kid that's functional minded. Do they talk a lot? No. Do they socialize a lot? No. And to people like me, that doesn't feel right. Come on, little Billy. Don't you want to make friends? Don't you want to talk to other kids and do things and go to the park together and have sleepovers and campouts and la 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 la? And here's this kid. What does any of that mean? There's reasons for this, and I won't go into it at this time because I don't want to bore anybody. But no, I should probably say it. Discuss. Okay. So your what if is amazingly outside the box type thinking. But their what if, yes, they have one. They have an imagination, but it's a little bit more fact based. Because facts, they're functionally minded. So when it comes to their what if, it's more about the what is. Whereas my what if, your what if, in our normal setting, we'll say, our normal balance, the sky's the limit, and not even that is the limit, in all honesty. We can go anywhere with our imagination. Now, that does not mean that your friend does not have the ability to have a what-if imagination, if it makes sense to do so. Yeah, I know, crazy, right? They can do anything that you can do if it makes sense to do so. Now, when I say it makes sense to do so, I don't mean it makes sense to you or even makes sense to them. This is the crazy thing. This is where people are really going to, It's because it makes sense to their functional brain. If it doesn't make sense to their functional brain, it's not going to happen. Because they are stronger on the functional side. It's the more controlling voice, action, whatever you want to call it. Quickly increase something. Oh, I'm supposed to. Sorry. My phone just reminded me I shouldn't record and charge. Sorry. Anyway. Where was I? Okay. Yes. They're stronger on that functional side. So, if it makes sense to the functional brain, then they can do it. I can go into more about it, but then it becomes more individually based. So, but just know that there is more. I'm going to try and stick to the basics here, though. So, like I said, little Billy, right? And to you and me, we're like, oh, you should make friends. You should do them, blah, 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 blah. That means what? That doesn't, see, we're seeing that what if of how that could benefit that child. But Billy isn't. He sees the what is. And the what is, I can't connect to those things. It doesn't compute. Now, it's true that once Billy sees what a camp out is, maybe sees a movie where there's kids on a camp out together and how much fun it can be, it is possible, depending upon the level of how strong they're functionally minded, or if something about it just makes sense, it is possible for them to see that on TV and go, oh, now it makes sense, and now they can do it. Sometimes not. Sometimes it's actually, for as crazy as it may sound, they have to actually live that moment before being able to make the decision that they can agree to doing that. Does that make sense? I know, it's a little crazy. But think of it like having to see your future in the crystal ball before you can make a move. Now, you yourself might actually be able to relate to this because, unfortunately, one of the things that happens to us during depression is we are imbalanced and our functional side becomes stronger. And there's a reason for that. It needs to make sense of something. And because it needs to make sense of something, it becomes stronger than it's supposed to be. Which is why there are times you can't do anything. You yourself can't do anything without knowing exactly what to expect. Right? Right. If you knew for a fact that the dishes were already done downstairs, maybe, just maybe, you could get up and go downstairs and cook. But you really don't know. And so you don't know what the condition of the dishes are. And you just, I don't, and I know if I go down there, I see the condition of the dishes, and it's not good, and then it's going to make it worse for me because I'm just not good with that. And I know. I've been there. I get it. Anyway, it's like having to have a crystal ball. In order to be able to make a move, you have to already have been able to see the future. Well, so that's what it's like for the functional side. So whether you're functionally minded naturally, or because you're imbalanced that way, because of depression or whatever, that's why your brain is acting like that. In order to be able to do something, sometimes you have to have already done it, as if you've looked in a crystal ball and seen 10 minutes into the future of what your life would actually be like. Oh, that makes sense. I look happy, and that makes sense. I'm having a good time. Well, that makes sense. Well, now we can do it, right? Now we can connect to it. Sorry, just when it comes to your particular situation, with your friend, I should say, because I don't know your particular situation. And I don't think you feel like you can trust, because guess what? Trust is on that functional side again. It's our guarded side. That's why. Why should I trust somebody? Do I know for a fact that it's going to turn out good? That it's not going to come back to bite me? Oh, well, if I don't know for a fact, then I'm not going to do it. Right? You can relate with that as well. Well, that's also functional thinking. And I get it because, like I said, hope is dangerous. But I know what it's like when the idea of trying, it's weird sometimes. Sorry, it's Perry Mason, the hateful hero. It's weird sometimes. I know that people say take a walk, change your diet, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff will make you feel better. And you know what's funny? They're not wrong. There have been times where you've done those things, and it did help. Here's why. Here's why we really stay back from doing that, though. Because when the inevitable comes back, it almost comes back with a vengeance sometimes. When that depression rears its ugly head again, it's almost like it's angry at us for thinking that we could be okay, thinking that we could do something normal for once, that we could change something. Again, I know that feeling. And again, I know why the brain is doing that. But I won't go into that because that's more involved. I'd have to explain to you how the whole well, I might as well say at least that. For as much as you think that depression is a monster, and I even refer to it as a monster, it's actually your brain trying to protect you. Yeah, believe it or not. Because I was explaining this to my mom yesterday. It's trying to reset you. Unfortunately, just because you reset something doesn't mean it actually restarts. But think of it this way. It's like an overprotective parent. What's one of the things that overprotective parents do? They keep their kid at home, right? Because that's where it's safest. Which is why your depression keeps you at home, because that's where it's safest. And oh, wait a minute. Where did you start your day? That first moment that you woke up and took into account the fact that you were safe, so to speak. You know, there wasn't some fire-breathing dragon right next to you trying to char you to bits. Yeah, I don't know, something silly like that. The idea is that when you first woke up and you first realized you were safe, we'll say, you were in bed. Which is why depression keeps trying to put you back in bed. Because that's where you're safe. So yes, your brain is actually trying to protect you. But unfortunately, like an overprotective parent, what they think is helping is actually hindering and harming in some cases. Because the brain has the ability to work forward as well as backward. It makes sense. Cars go forward. They also have the ability to go in reverse. But most of the time they're supposed to go forward. Well, that's the way the brain works too. It has the ability to work in reverse. We need it sometimes to work in reverse. Sometimes it gets stuck that way, though. Can't go into the individual reasons because, again, they're individual. But, yeah, it has that ability. And yeah, it is because it's trying to protect you. I could go into a whole lot more, but for now, I think I'll leave it at that. Especially because it's 20 minutes in, and I was hoping for the shorter video, but oh well. This is just how that is. So, hopefully I'll talk to you more about this later online.